Imagine a company becoming so powerful that it could decide who was allowed to trade. Imagine that same company controlling entire seas and kingdoms. Imagine it arriving at your homeland demanding obedience. That was the reality of the Dutch East India Company, known as the VOC. The VOC was not an ordinary business. It possessed armies, warships, and enormous wealth. It negotiated treaties and started wars whenever necessary. Its influence spread across vast regions of Asia. Many rulers feared its growing power. Many kingdoms eventually accepted its demands. The VOC seemed unstoppable, but one kingdom refused to submit. That kingdom was Goa in Makassar, a thriving center of trade and culture, a place where merchants from across the world gathered, a place built upon freedom. Ships arrived from Arabia and India. Others came from China and Southeast Asia. The harbor was alive with opportunity. Trade flowed without restriction. Makassar prospered because it welcomed everyone. Its markets connected distant civilizations. Its ports remained open to competition. Its wealth continued to grow. The VOC viewed this freedom as a threat. Freedom created competition. Competition weakened monopoly, and monopoly was the source of VOC power. The company wanted complete control of the spice trade. It wanted exclusive access to profits. It wanted every merchant to obey its rules. Makassar stood in its way. Then a leader emerged who would challenge them, a ruler known for courage and determination, a ruler unwilling to compromise his principles. His name was Sultan Hasanuddin. Hasanuddin believed the sea belonged to everyone. Trade should remain open and fair. No foreign company should dictate local destiny. No outsider should control Makassar. The VOC attempted negotiation first. Its representatives delivered proposals and demands. They expected cooperation. Instead, they encountered resistance. Hasanuddin refused to surrender Makassar's independence. He rejected attempts at monopoly. He rejected foreign control. His answer remained unchanged. The conflict quickly intensified. Economic pressure followed diplomacy. Threats followed negotiations. Tension spread across the region, yet every attempt failed. The Sultan remained defiant. His people stood beside him. Makassar refused to kneel. The VOC grew increasingly frustrated. Its leaders believed resistance would eventually collapse. Instead, resistance became stronger. The confrontation became inevitable. Both sides prepared for a larger struggle. Warships gathered across the sea. Fortifications strengthened along the coast. Soldiers readied themselves for battle. Merchants watched nervously. Families feared what was coming. The atmosphere became tense. The peace would not last. Hasanuddin understood the danger clearly. The VOC possessed vast resources. Its military strength was formidable. Its influence extended everywhere. Yet surrender was never an option. Freedom demanded sacrifice. Honor demanded courage. Resistance demanded determination. The Sultan gathered his commanders. Plans were discussed carefully. Strategies were prepared for the coming storm. Everyone understood the stakes. This was not merely a dispute over trade. It was a struggle for sovereignty, a struggle for dignity, a struggle for the future. Soon the seas of the archipelago would become battlefields. Cannons would replace negotiations. Smoke would replace diplomacy. History was about to change. The VOC expected another easy victory, another kingdom forced into obedience, another monopoly secured. But Makassar had other plans. And at the center of it all stood one man, a ruler determined to protect his people, a ruler prepared to risk everything, the Lion of the East. The conflict finally erupted into open war. The sea became a battlefield. Warships filled the horizon. The age of diplomacy was over. Cannons thundered across the water. Smoke drifted over the waves. The sound of battle echoed endlessly. Both sides refused to retreat. The VOC possessed powerful fleets. Its ships carried superior firepower. Its commanders had years of experience. Victory seemed within reach. But Makassar did not collapse. Its warriors fought fiercely. Its commanders adapted quickly. Its determination surprised the enemy. Sultan Hasanuddin led by example. He did not hide behind palace walls. He stood beside his soldiers. He shared their dangers. His presence inspired confidence. His courage strengthened morale. His determination united the kingdom. His people trusted him completely. Every battle carried enormous consequences. Every victory boosted hope. Every loss tested resolve. The struggle grew more intense. The VOC expected resistance to weaken. Instead, it encountered relentless opposition. Makassar refused to surrender. The war continued. Months turned into years. Resources became increasingly strained. The cost of conflict grew heavier. Both sides suffered greatly. Yet Hasanuddin remained committed. He understood what was at stake. Freedom could not be purchased cheaply. Independence demanded sacrifice. Meanwhile, VOC leaders became frustrated. Military victories proved difficult to secure. Makassar continued fighting back. The campaign dragged on. The company realized something important. Military force alone might not be enough. Another strategy was required. A different path emerged. The battlefield was not limited to the sea. Political maneuvering became equally important. Alliances could change everything. Influence could become a weapon. VOC officials began searching for opportunities. They studied local rivalries carefully. They examined divisions among their enemies. They looked for weaknesses. The company understood a timeless truth. A fortress can resist cannons. An army can resist invasion. Internal division is harder to defeat. While battles continued openly, another struggle developed in secret. Conversations replaced gunfire. Promises replaced cannonballs. Political tension slowly increased. Trust became difficult to maintain. Suspicion spread quietly. The situation grew dangerous. Hasanuddin now faced two enemies. One stood before him on the battlefield. The other operated in the shadows. Both were equally threatening. The pressure became immense. Every decision carried risks. Every alliance required caution. Every mistake could prove costly. Still, the Sultan continued resisting. He refused to abandon his principles. He refused to surrender sovereignty. His resolve remained unshaken. Across the archipelago, people watched closely. The outcome would affect many kingdoms. The struggle had become symbolic. Much more than trade was involved. Stories of Hasanuddin's courage spread widely. His reputation grew with every battle. His determination inspired admiration. His name became legendary. Yet the most difficult challenges were approaching. The war was far from over. Greater dangers lay ahead. The storm continued to build. Because sometimes the greatest threat does not arrive from the front. Sometimes it emerges from within. And that is exactly what happened. The VOC changed its strategy. Cannons alone had not delivered victory. Direct confrontation proved costly. A more subtle approach emerged. Company officials studied regional politics carefully. They searched for divisions and rivalries. They searched for opportunities. They searched for leverage. Diplomacy became another battlefield. Meetings were held behind closed doors. Promises were exchanged quietly. New alliances began to form. The company understood human nature well. Where conflict existed, it could be exploited. Where trust weakened, influence could grow. Where unity fractured, victory became possible. Hasanuddin recognized the danger immediately. Military threats were visible. Political threats were harder to detect. That made them even more dangerous. Reports arrived daily. New developments required constant attention. Rumors spread across the kingdom. Uncertainty grew steadily. The Sultan faced impossible choices. Every decision affected thousands of lives. Every action carried consequences. Every delay increased the risk. Meanwhile, the war continued relentlessly. Battles consumed resources. Supplies became harder to secure. The burden grew heavier. Families felt the effects everywhere. Trade slowed dramatically. Communities suffered hardship. The cost of resistance was real, yet surrender remained unacceptable. The struggle was larger than economics. It was larger than politics. It was about freedom itself. Hasanuddin continued rallying his people. He encouraged perseverance. He encouraged courage. He encouraged unity. His leadership inspired many. His determination remained visible. His confidence strengthened morale. Hope survived because of him. But even the strongest leaders face limits. Years of conflict take their toll. Resources diminish over time. Exhaustion becomes unavoidable. Makassar's defenders felt that pressure. They had fought bravely for years. They had sacrificed greatly. The strain became enormous. The VOC noticed the situation changing. Its leaders sensed an opportunity. Momentum appeared to shift. The company increased its efforts. Additional forces entered the conflict. More ships arrived. More soldiers appeared. More pressure followed. The balance slowly changed. Resistance remained fierce, but maintaining that resistance became harder. The challenges multiplied. Fort Somba Opu became increasingly important. It stood as a symbol of defiance. It stood as a defensive stronghold. It stood as a final barrier. The fortress represented more than stone walls. It represented determination. It represented sovereignty. It represented hope. Everyone understood its significance. The defenders knew it. The VOC knew it. History would soon know it too. As tensions escalated, the possibility of a decisive confrontation grew. The conflict approached a turning point. The stakes could not be higher. Hasanuddin looked toward the future. The choices ahead were difficult. The risks were enormous. The outcome remained uncertain. Yet one thing was clear. The struggle was nearing its climax. The decisive moment approached rapidly. The kingdom prepared itself. Soon, the fate of Makassar would be tested like never before, and the battle that followed would shape history forever. The decisive moment finally arrived. The struggle reached its climax. All eyes turned toward Fort Somba Opu. The fortress would face its greatest test. VOC forces launched a major assault. Warships filled the waters nearby. Cannons unleashed relentless bombardments. The ground shook beneath every explosion. Smoke covered the battlefield. Flames lit the sky. The sounds of war echoed everywhere. The siege had begun. Makassar's defenders refused to retreat. They fought with extraordinary courage. They defended every position fiercely. They understood what was at stake. The fortress became a symbol of resistance. Its walls absorbed tremendous punishment. Its defenders endured immense pressure. Its spirit remained unbroken. Sultan Hasanuddin stood among his people. He witnessed the destruction firsthand. He shared their hardships. He shared their determination. The battle grew increasingly brutal. Every advance came at a cost. Every defense demanded sacrifice. The conflict spared no one. Hours turned into days. The pressure continued relentlessly. The defenders grew exhausted. Yet they continued fighting. The VOC pressed its advantage. Its resources seemed endless. Its reinforcements kept arriving. Its determination never weakened. Makassar's situation became critical. Supplies dwindled rapidly. Losses accumulated steadily. Options became increasingly limited. Even so, resistance continued. Every soldier understood their duty. Every defender understood the risks. Every moment mattered. The fortress eventually suffered severe damage. Sections of its defenses collapsed. The enemy gained ground. The situation deteriorated. Hasanuddin faced a painful reality. Courage alone could not reverse everything. Determination alone could not replace resources. The balance had shifted. He now carried an impossible burden. Protecting his people remained his priority. Continuing the war carried terrible costs. Every option involved sacrifice. The Sultan confronted a difficult truth. Leadership sometimes means choosing survival. Leadership sometimes means accepting painful realities. Leadership sometimes demands heartbreaking decisions. Negotiations became unavoidable. Discussions intensified. The future of Makassar hung in the balance. History stood at a crossroads. Eventually, an agreement emerged. It would become known as the Treaty of Bungaya. Its terms heavily favored the VOC. Its consequences would be profound. For many observers, the outcome appeared obvious. The VOC had achieved its objective. Makassar had been forced to concede. The treaty marked the end of the war. The fighting finally stopped. The cannons fell silent. The battlefield grew quiet. Yet silence does not always mean victory. And defeat does not always mean failure. History often reveals deeper truths. Truths invisible at first glance. Hasanuddin accepted the reality before him, but he did not surrender his dignity. He did not abandon his principles. He remained true to himself. The VOC celebrated its success. Its leaders believed they had won decisively. Their monopoly expanded further. Their influence grew stronger. But history had not finished writing the story. A different verdict would emerge later. A verdict no treaty could control. A verdict delivered by time itself. Because sometimes the true winner of a struggle is not decided on the battlefield. Sometimes the answer appears generations later. And that answer was coming. At first glance, the outcome seemed clear. The VOC achieved its political objectives. Makassar accepted the treaty. The war was over. Many believed the company had won. Its influence expanded further. Its control over trade increased. Its leaders celebrated their success. History, however, rarely ends with a treaty. Documents can record agreements. Battles can produce winners. But memory follows different rules. As years passed, people continued telling Hasanuddin's story. His resistance became legendary. His courage became unforgettable. Communities remembered his sacrifices. Families shared stories about his leadership. His name spread far beyond Makassar. His reputation continued growing. The VOC possessed wealth and power. It controlled ships and armies. It dominated trade routes, yet something remained beyond its reach. It could not control memory. It could not control admiration. It could not control inspiration. Those belonged to the people. Generations later, the company that once seemed unstoppable disappeared. Its power faded. Its empire collapsed. Economic troubles weakened the VOC. Corruption spread through its administration. Its enormous ambitions became unsustainable. Eventually, it ceased to exist. The mighty company vanished into history. Its ships disappeared. Its authority ended. Its monopoly became a memory. Yet Hasanuddin remained, not in the form of wealth, not in the form of territory, but in the hearts of people. His story continued to inspire. His example continued to resonate. His courage continued to matter. His legacy endured. That is the irony of history. Power often appears permanent, but true influence survives much longer. True influence transcends time. The VOC won a war. Hasanuddin won remembrance. The VOC gained territory. Hasanuddin gained immortality. His struggle was never only about trade. It was never only about politics. It was about dignity. It was about freedom. He understood the risks from the beginning. He knew the enemy was stronger. He knew victory was uncertain. Still, he chose resistance. That choice defines his legacy. Not the outcome of a treaty, not the fall of a fortress, but the courage to stand firm. Many leaders seek safety. Many leaders seek compromise. Few are willing to risk everything. Hasanuddin was different. He faced overwhelming odds. He faced military pressure. He faced political manipulation. He refused to kneel. That refusal transformed him into a symbol of resistance, a symbol of sovereignty, a symbol of national pride. Today his name still lives on. Schools teach his story. Monuments honor his sacrifice. History remembers his courage. And perhaps that reveals the final twist. The VOC captured territory, but it never captured his spirit. That remained unconquered. Some victories fade with time. Some defeats become inspiration. Some battles end on paper. Others continue in memory. Sultan Hasanuddin may have lost the war, but he won something greater, the respect of generations, and the eternal title, the Lion of the East.